Hey y'all, welcome back. So tonight we've got another very quick, easy, and very cost-effective dinner. We're going to have spicy cabbage soup. Now, if spicy flavors are not your jam and you just don't like heat, I'm going to show you the two variations that you can do to make this cabbage soup a mild cabbage soup instead of a spicy cabbage soup. So we've got just these few simple ingredients here, a few spices, and that's all it takes. So I'm going to zoom y'all in and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so down in our pan I just have a little bit of olive oil heating up. We're going to add in our one medium onion, all diced up. And I just have this over a medium heat. Now as y'all saw, I browned my meat yesterday. I went ahead, we made another recipe yesterday, and I just went ahead and cooked all of my ground beef at the same time. So what I'm dumping in is already cooked ground beef, but if you haven't done that, just go ahead and add your 1.5 pounds of ground beef with your onions right now. And do this little mix. I'm going to let these go for a few minutes just to soften up. While this softens, we're going to go ahead and cut up our cabbage. So now that our onions are nice and softened, I'm just going to dump our ground beef back in there. And this is a 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Like I said, I cooked it yesterday for a different dish and it came straight out of the fridge. I did pour off most of the grease. You can see there's still a few little chunks of it. That is okay. I'm going to add in our 6 cups of sliced cabbage. And it will not take both of those heads of cabbage. But mine were tiny, so I went ahead and got 2. But if you have a medium-sized cabbage, 1 head of cabbage will be plenty. You could probably get away with just 1 small head of cabbage also, because this will shrink down though. Alright, I'm just going to saute this for just a minute. Okay, now that we have that all mixed around, we're going to start dumping in the rest of our ingredients. Need 1 can of rotel. If you don't like spicy, this is one of those substitutions you can make. You'll just use 2 cans of diced tomatoes. So I've got 1 can of diced tomatoes, 1 can of rotel, 1 16-ounce box of beef broth, or about 4 cups of beef broth. If you have beef bouillon, just use a couple beef bouillon cubes and add water. If you like a thicker soup, this is an area you could reduce some of this liquid also. Alright, we need about ½ teaspoon of salt. We may add more later, but we start and then we add to what we need. About ½ teaspoon of pepper. About ½ teaspoon of oregano. About ½ teaspoon of garlic. Or a whole teaspoon. Y'all see how easy this is? All of the seasonings are the same measurement. And again, if you don't like spice, leave out this last one. About ½ teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We'll give this a good stir. Alright, we're going to bring this back up to a boil and then we'll turn it down to a simmer for just 30 minutes. Alright y'all, we're starting to boil, so we're just going to give it another good mix. Just get everything all around. We're going to turn this down to a medium-low. We'll cover it, and we're going to let that simmer for about 30 minutes, and we'll come back and taste test. Alright y'all, so we've been simmering for 30 minutes. We got y'all all fogged up. So we're just going to give this a stir. We're going to taste test and see what seasonings we need to add. I can feel that our cabbage is nice and tender but not mushy, and that's what we want. We don't want mushy cabbage. So let's see. So we've got a nice kick, but we definitely need some more salt. And like I said before, you can always add to it, you can't take away. So we start small and build with it. So I'm adding in another ½ teaspoon of salt. I'm going to give another little taste test. We still need a little more salt. So we're up to about 1.5 teaspoons at this point. Remember, we used low sodium diced tomatoes and low sodium beef broth. So if you're not using low sodium, then you might not have to adjust. Or if you use a different type of beef broth, maybe yours is a little saltier or not quite as salty as mine. So just taste test as you go and move it to your liking. Alright, one more go. And there we have it. So we're just going to let this sit for just a second while I toast up some crusty bread. You could even toss in some rice with this and let it cook right down in the pot while you're simmering this. However, I don't want the rice with it. I want the soup to keep its specialness, I guess. But I'm just going to make some crusty bread and we'll serve it up and we'll have dinner. Alright, y'all. So that is dinner. Just serving it with some crusty bread that we just poured some olive oil, some salt, and some different herbs. And let it soak in. Enjoy!